On the first day of my freshman year of high school, I was super nervous. My family and I had just moved from a few towns over, so I wouldn't know anyone. I knew most of my classmates would have known each other for years after having gone to elementary school and middle school together. I was so worried about not fitting in and not having anyone to eat with at lunch. My mom told me just to be my friendly self and that I would have no problem making friends. But I'm a shy person, and I doubted making friends would be that easy. That morning, I struggled to find my way to my first class, Algebra 1. I felt ridiculous walking around with a map. My heart was beating fast as I imagined how embarrassing it would be if I was late to my very first class. I was glancing down trying to figure out where I was going when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I looked up and a girl with blonde hair and glasses was standing next to me. She asked me if I was the new girl. I nodded and she introduced herself as Andrea. She happened to be heading to Algebra 1 too and told me she would walk with me there. I was super grateful and relieved to have someone who seemed like they wanted to talk to me. We chatted excitedly the whole way there, and Andrea gave me the lowdown on all the school gossip. She told me who the mean teachers were, who the popular kids were, and who the cutest boys were. I felt like I was making a friend. Once we got to class, we sat right next to each other. Once class was over, we reviewed our schedule and found out we had 2 other classes together, history and English. Best of all, we were both in the same lunch period. I was super happy because I would no longer have to worry about eating alone. Andrea walked me to art class, and she told me she would catch up with me in history. Thanks to Andrea, my first week of school went by pretty smoothly. I liked all my teachers, and everyone seemed to be pretty nice. I was starting to get the feel of the school layout and wasn't getting lost anymore. Maybe this wouldn't be such a nightmare after all. When Friday rolled around, Andrea asked me if I would like to come over to her house for a sleepover. I had nothing going on, so of course I said yes. My parents didn't ask many questions when I told them my plans, since they were just glad I had made a friend. My mom dropped me off that evening at Andrea's house. We were both surprised by how fancy and large the home was, probably more than triple the size of our house. There were wrought iron gates that opened automatically as we pulled up, and several luxury vehicles parked in the driveway. I had no idea Andrea's family was so rich. I hoped she wouldn't be bothered by the fact that me and my family weren't. Andrea's mom greeted me warmly at the door and directed me to Andrea's room. The room was stunning with a queen-sized bed and lavender pillows. She had a desk with a Mac computer, a walk-in closet, and even a flat-screen TV. As fancy as the room was, I noticed that it didn't have many personal items. I thought of my room back home, the walls covered with pictures of my family and friends, posters of my favorite bands, and my own artwork. Maybe Andrea just had more mature taste, I figured. After we chatted in her room for a bit, Andrea asked me if I would like to go swimming in her family's pool. I said that I would, but I hadn't brought my bathing suit with me. She told me it didn't matter, that she had tons of suits I could borrow. She handed a red bikini to me. It was a bit skimpier than anything I preferred to wear, but since it was only the 2 of us around, I decided it would be fine. I went into the bathroom to change, and when I came out, I noticed Andrea's eyes scan my body from top to bottom. I shifted uncomfortably, wondering why she was looking at me like that. All my worries were forgotten a few minutes later, though, when we were splashing around in the pool. There was a water slide, a diving board, and every other fun feature you could think of. When we were all done, we dried off and headed inside for dinner. Andrea's family had a personal chef who told me he could make anything I wanted. I told him a simple margarita pizza would be perfect. He whipped it up from scratch, and Andrea and I split it, chatting about school all through dinner. After we ate, we went back to Andrea's room to watch a movie before bed. I was surprised to see a guest bed, fully made up, had been wheeled into the room for me. Wow, this was a lot fancier than the sleepovers I had before. Usually I just slept on the floor with a blanket and a pillow. We were both ready to pass out around midnight and shut the lights off before calling it a night. I had always had trouble falling asleep in other people's houses. I tossed and turned for a bit before finally falling asleep. I woke up partway through the night and checked my phone to see what time it was. It was nearly 3 in the morning. Ugh. I rolled over and was startled to see that Andrea was wide awake and staring right at me. I rolled over to face away from her, feeling a bit uncomfortable. It was a long night for me with very little sleep, and I was almost grateful when morning came and my mom showed up. I waved goodbye to Andrea, telling her I'd see her in class on Monday. The next week at school was even better than the first. I had made friends with a girl named Sarah from art class, who introduced me to one of her friends, Julia. Both girls were super sweet, and we had a lot of stuff in common. Because all three of us shared the same lunch period, we decided we'd sit together. I sent a quick text to Andrea, telling her I wouldn't be at our table, but that she could meet me, Julia, and Sarah at their table. Strangely, Andrea seemed annoyed at the change, and while she did sit with us at lunch, she didn't say a word the whole time. I worried that I had somehow offended her by changing up our normal plans, but I felt like I needed to keep trying to make new friends. Throughout the week, I noticed that Andrea was texting me a lot more than usual. If she texted and I didn't respond right away, she would call me and ask if I was mad at her. I explained that I was simply trying to keep up with my school load, which was getting heavier by the day. I felt like she wanted to spend every single second together. It was almost like she was obsessed with me. But still, I was grateful for her for helping me adjust to my new school, so I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt and didn't call her out on her possessive behavior. Andrea seemed to be jealous of the friendships I was building with Julia and Sarah. She even told me that I should look out for both of them and that she had heard rumors they were backstabbers and were only pretending to be my friend. I didn't get the sense of that at all from them, so I ignored her warnings. As the days went by, it got harder and harder to put up with Andrea's behavior. I would be having a conversation with other friends in the hallway, and she would walk up and essentially pull me away. I felt like she was trying to isolate me from everyone else. I was confused and had never had to deal with a situation like this before. I wanted to be nice and was afraid of hurting her feelings, so I continued to stay silent, even though I was getting annoyed. That Friday, Andrea asked me to come over to her house for another sleepover. I told her thank you, but that I was really tired from the long school week and just wanted to go home, rest, and go to bed early. She got really angry and accused me of making plans with Julia and Sarah without her. I assured her that this was not the case and that I simply wanted some time to myself to relax. Some of my classes were a lot harder than I had expected, and I wasn't getting much sleep these days. Andrea still seemed annoyed, but I didn't care. I had to put my own health first. That night, Andrea texted me more than ever before. I sent back short responses, trying to send the message that I wanted to be left alone. When the texts kept coming after I told her I was going to bed, I decided to just ignore them. I heard buzzing and checked my phone to see that she had called me not once or twice, but 6 times. I grabbed my phone in frustration, powered it off completely before collapsing into bed and drifting to sleep. I was awoken in the middle of the night by a strange tapping sound. I looked around my room in confusion, trying to figure out where it was coming from. I pulled back my blinds and was shocked to see Andrea in the window. She had climbed a tree all the way up to where my bedroom was. I was terrified and called for my parents, who called the police. Andrea threw a massive fit when the police arrived and refused to leave our property. I eventually had to get a restraining order, and Andrea was placed into a psychiatric facility. According to police, this was the 3rd incident of Andrea stalking someone, and she actually had pretty severe mental health problems that she had quit taking medication for. Her parents thought it was under control, but it wasn't. I was shocked to learn that the person I thought was my best friend was actually my stalker. How would you have handled this situation? Drop a comment and don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, sleep tight and don't forget to lock your windows.